Welcome. The time is 7 o'clock, and I would like to call this District 204 regular action meeting to order. Marilyn, will you please call roll?
Member Alvarez?
Present.
Member Eva Daniel?
Present.
Member Kazelka Campbell?
Present.
Member Dillon?
Here.
Member Giannotti Fry?
Here.
Member Kennedy?
Present.
Member Lopez?
Here.
All right. I ask that we all rise and participate in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Second.
At this time, I will open the public hearing regarding the proposed transfer between the Educational Fund and the Operations and Maintenance Fund for Lyons Township High School District 204. Do we have anyone that wishes to comment on the public hearing at this time? Okay. Seeing as there are no comments, can we please have a motion and a second to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Our next item is public participation. Marilyn, do we have anyone sign? Oh, I'm sorry.
Do voice vote. You had a motion and a second, but do it all in favor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Do I have a voice vote
Say all in favor.
to approve the public hearing? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Our next item is public participation. Marilyn, do we have anyone signed up for tonight's first public comment session?
Johannes?
As a reminder, there are two opportunities for public participation. The first opportunity is for individuals who signed up prior to the meeting. For those who wish to speak during our second opportunity at the end of the meeting, please see Marilyn Muscolino just outside the room. The board appreciates hearing from our community, but does not engage in dialogue or discussion. If there is a comment that requires follow-up, the appropriate administrator will respond at a later time. In accordance with Board Policies 2:230 and 8:30, we appreciate you limiting your comments to 3 minutes and for keeping tonight's meeting respectful and civil. Andrew, you're up.
Good evening. As the school year draws to a close, I want to take a moment on behalf of our dedicated educators and staff to reflect on the year behind us. This year has been one of hard work, resilience, and unwavering commitment to our students. Our educators have continued to meet high expectations with professionalism and creativity, ensuring that every child, regardless of background, has the opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive. From early morning lesson planning to after-school tutoring, from the bus drivers who start our students' days safely to the custodians who keep our schools running smoothly, this work has been a full team effort. We've seen students come back from the challenges of the past few years with renewed energy and deep needs, and our staff have been there to meet them every step of the way. We've expanded academic supports, embraced new strategies to engage learners, and nurtured school culture that prioritizes both achievement and well-being. At the same time, this year hasn't been without its challenges, yet through collaboration and shared purpose, we've navigated these difficult times together with a clear focus on what matters most, our students. As we look ahead, we ask for your continued partnership and support. Investing in educators is investing in student success. Let's continue to work together to ensure that every classroom has what it needs to thrive, that every educator is respected and heard, and that every decision we make centers student learning and equity. Thank you for your leadership and support. We look forward to building an even stronger school year ahead together. Finally, I would like to congratulate the class of 2025. They've made a lasting impact on LT, and we wish them the very best in their future endeavors. Wish everybody a happy summer, and take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our first portion.
Okay. We're going to move on to student representative to the Board of Education report. Emily, this will be your final report for the year.
Yes,
We have
cool, yeah.
some words we'll share with you after, but please, it's your
Thank you.
turn it over to you.
So, hi everyone. I hope you all had a great prom weekend. This week is the last week for the class of 2025, and it's filled with distribution of yearbooks, returning Chromebooks, and figuring out how to skillfully remove all the stickers, but also just cherishing the little moments we have until next Wednesday, which is graduation day. The baccalaureate program on May 16th provided graduating seniors with a meaningful opportunity to reflect and share memories. Several amazing performances were featured, including Ella Cutica's solo of It Ain't Me, Limitless by LT's Yuri Dance Company, and Playlists for Freshmen and Empty Nesters by Scott and Jenna Egerty. All these performances were incredibly touching and all amazing. Congratulations to LT's water polo team on their outstanding 12-4 victory over Mother Macaulay to win the sectional championship. An incredible achievement, and we wish them good luck at state this week. And major shout out to Tucker King for setting a new school record with 14 career wins. This accomplishment reflects his relentless passion and determination. And congratulations to all the BPA members for their success at the 2025 BPA National Leadership Conference. It was held in Orlando, Florida from May 7th through 11th. The LTHS BPA team was among nearly 7,000 attendees representing nearly 800 school chapters. The team earned numerous individual awards, and congratulations to them. A big shout out to all the sophomore students who received their Golden L on Sophomore Award Recognition Day. This honor celebrates academic excellence, dedication, and an incredible effort. So that's it for tonight's report, and as this is my final report as a student representative, I want to sincerely thank the board for being so welcoming over the past year. This opportunity has been truly an honor, and working with each and every one of you is something I'll never forget. And just thank you for all your kindness. I was really nervous starting this, so it just really made it so much more amazing, just making sure that you guys were all smiling while I was doing my report. So thank you so much for that.
That's awesome. Emily, thank you so much for not only tonight's report, but for an outstanding year as student rep to the Board of Education. I've certainly appreciated the time we've been able to spend together, and I'm grateful for all the time and energy that you've put into this position. I also want to thank and recognize your mother, Monica, who is here in the first row. Monica, thank you so much for raising such an amazing and enthusiastic team. We are certainly excited to see all that Emily accomplishes as she moves on to the University of Miami next school year. So congratulations, Emily, and thank you again for everything.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Small token of appreciation for all the time at every board meeting this year. So congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Congrats, Emily.
Thank you.
So I will just echo Dr. Waterman's sentiments as well. I think having your perspective, not only on the amazing things that are happening in our halls and outside our classrooms, but your perspective on things that may not have been so great. I think that gives us a good insight and balance into what we need to do here at the board level. I know, personally, that the work that you've done this year has been exemplary, and we're very excited for where you're going next. And so thank you for all your dedication and support to our district. So I don't know if anybody else has anything else that they want to share, but I personally thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I would echo what Tim said, and just that it's really been great to see you progress throughout the year.
Thank you.
And it's, and to have this vantage to sit over here and see you.
Thank you.
So, but, we just wish you the best of luck, and you did a great job.
Thank you so much.
Continue to do amazing things, because
Yeah.
you've been really a great asset to the board. And, having been a part of this, I'm sure you'll go out and continue to do stuff and maybe be on a board yourself. And
Yeah,
Continue to do
hopefully.
good
Yeah.
work. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
And Emily, did I see that you actually started a group of your own
At LT.
at LT?
Two, yeah,
Two?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, you have that entrepreneurial spirit and
Thank you.
that drive, and it just your warmth, I'm sure, is shining through in those two organizations or your two clubs. So thank you again
Thank you
for
so much.
your commitment to the board and to the school.
Thank you.
Well, with Emily's tenure as student rep complete, I am excited tonight to introduce next year's student representatives. That's plural, in case you missed it. In April, we accepted applications and completed the interview process for the position for next year. And at the end of a long afternoon of interviews, we had 15 student applicants total. Our team was thoroughly impressed by two individuals who really shined throughout the process. And because of that, we really just saw an opportunity to do something unique here at LT, and that is to name 2 student reps for next year rather than 1. So even more exciting, though, is the fact that these 2 individuals also just happen to be siblings. So it's my pleasure to introduce the Lyons Township High School District 204 Board of Education student representatives for the 25-26 school year, Ria and Rohan Nagali. So Ria will be a senior, of course, and is involved in a variety of activities, including girls varsity tennis, Model United Nations, math team. She participates as a facilitator in student voice workshops, tutors in the Math Drop-In Center, and was a part of the Argonne Exemplary Student Research Program, in addition to the Lion newspaper and National Honor Society. Rohan will also be a senior and is involved in a variety of activities as well, including Robotics Club, Business Professionals of America, math team, boys varsity tennis, tutors in the Math Science Drop-In Center, and also National Honor Society as well. I want to take a minute to recognize their parents who are with us here tonight, I believe. Right? Yeah. Suchita and Surab Nagali. Again, thank you for raising wonderful students who are going to serve as our reps. So we are certainly excited to welcome Ria and Rohan to this role, and we look forward to their first report later tonight. I'm just kidding. Not tonight.
They'd be ready. They'd be ready.
They would be ready. Not until the August 18th regular action meeting. So Ria and Rohan, congratulations.
Yeah, we're really excited to start in August.
Have a good summer.
Awesome. Thank you guys. We appreciate it.
The only thing I'd like to add, again, congratulations. You obviously have very big shoes to fill, but looking at your resume, there's no doubt in my mind that we're very excited to see you next year. I would also just like to thank Vice President Jill Beta-Daniels for her work on the committee, helping identify some of these people. So thank you to you as well.
It was super fun. It didn't even seem like work.
There you go. There you go.
All right.
Okay, so next we'll move on to the superintendent report. Dr. Waterman.
All right, I'll just start real quickly with a brief reminder that in your packet you will find a memo that provides the monthly FOIA report. That includes the FOIA requests we have received since our last meeting in April. Then moving on to our next agenda item, we're looking forward to celebrating the LT class of 2025 over the next 10 days. In fact, we've already started with this weekend's baccalaureate reflection ceremony and prom on Saturday night. Coming up on Wednesday night, we'll host the senior honors ceremony, and of course, it all culminates with the class of 2025 commencement ceremony next Wednesday night, May 28th, weather permitting, of course, on Bennett Field at South Campus. Back at the April board meeting, the Board of Education approved a senior honors declaration, and tonight I would ask that President Alboris read the resolution, thus formally recognizing this amazing class of 2025 and kicking off our celebration for this amazing class of students.
And it is my honor to do so. Whereas Lyons Township High School District 204 places great importance on the academic achievement and co-curricular involvement of its students throughout their 4 years of high school, and whereas the senior students in the class of 2025 are required to successfully meet the academic standards and expectations of Lyons Township High School District 204 and earn no less than 23 Carnegie units of credit in order to receive a high school diploma, and whereas the senior students in the class of 2025 had distinguished themselves in activities, athletics, and scholarship throughout their 4 years of high school. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of Lyons Township High School District 204, Cook County, State of Illinois, proudly acknowledges these outstanding students for their commitment, integrity, scholarship, and contributions to the school's traditions, and declares Wednesday, May 21st, 2025 as Senior Scholarship Day, so that the Lyons Township High School community may so honor the class of 2025 individually and collectively. Again, this resolution was signed by our Board of Education on April 21st, 2025.
Congratulations to our class of 2025. All right, so speaking of the class of 2025 commencement ceremony, we have the pleasure tonight to honor some students who will play a pretty big role in our commencement ceremony. So I want to start by recognizing Jack Fielding. He's not able to make it tonight, but I do want to talk a little bit about Jack. Although he couldn't be here tonight, Jack is a very familiar face around LT, where many of us saw him leading the all-school assembly, leading the school, and of course leading the school in the Pledge of Allegiance and the moment of silence every morning here. And then most recently, participating in the incubator program, including winning the most recent pitch night competition with his team. Jack is the son of Peter and Eileen Fielding and is planning to attend the University of Wisconsin-Madison next year. But before that, he will make a final address to his classmates next Wednesday night during the class of 2025 commencement ceremony. Congratulations to Jack Fielding. The next student we'd like to recognize is class of 2025 Senior Class Board President Simone Brown. As a student, Simone has been involved in National Honor Society, badminton, tennis, and archery. During next week's class of 2025 commencement ceremony, Simone will present a gift to the Board of Education and the LT school community on behalf of the entire class of 2025. Simone is the daughter of Jerry and Nadine Brown and is planning to attend Indiana University next year. Congratulations, Simone, and we're excited to hear your speech next week. The next student we would like to recognize is London Muscolino, who will deliver the welcome address at next week's commencement ceremony. London has been involved in a variety of activities at LT, most notably speech team, where she was a state and national qualifier, and STEM research, where she has participated in programs at Argonne and at Google. London is the daughter of Mary Lynn Muscolino and will attend Vanderbilt University in the fall. Before that, though, London will be the first person that our graduates will get to hear from, besides Dr. Tyrell, of course. But she will deliver the welcome at next Wednesday night ceremony. So, London, congratulations. And last, but certainly not least, I want to recognize Nora Ezike, who has been selected as the Class of 2025 Honors Order. Each year, students who have achieved high honor status at LT have the ability to apply and audition to present the Honors Order address. And this year, Nora was selected. As a student, she has been involved in girls basketball, where she has excelled as an all-state player, and girls soccer. Next week, Nora will conclude her career by addressing her classmates and their families as the Class of 2025 Honors Order, which is an amazing recognition. Nora is the daughter of Ngozi and Chukwu Emeka Ezike and will attend Stanford University in the fall. Congratulations, Nora. It always gives us a great pleasure to recognize students at our quarterly recognition ceremonies, and we cannot wait until next Wednesday night to hear all four of our graduation speakers address their peers, their families, and our school community at the commencement ceremony. But before that, we just need to pray for good weather. And we have more awards to give out here. So it's my honor as superintendent to present our final Vita Plena Award recipient of the school year. Just as a reminder, the Vita Plena Award has been presented to a deserving individual back since the mid-90s. This is an award that's generally presented to someone who embodies the themes of inspiration, creativity, selflessness, and really just someone who always goes above and beyond with a smile on their face. As we look to honor a staff member with a Vita Plena Award for quarter four, Darius Chansey, who serves our school community in our Buildings and Grounds Department, was a natural choice. After graduating from LT, Darius began his career here at LT in 2018 as a temporary groundskeeper. He then transitioned into a role as a permanent custodian, and then eventually to his current role, where he serves our school community as a district driver. In this role, Darius does so much for our community and specifically for our office and the Board of Education, even though the board may not be aware of this. He is a friendly face that drops things off at your houses when you need something. He makes supply runs to various stores and delivers things from campus to campus as well. He does all this, whether it's cold, whether it's snowy out, rainy out, or whatever the weather is. And most importantly, he always does it with a smile on his face and a positive attitude. He is an invaluable member of our team. We're proud to work with Darius as he supports our staff and our school community, and everything he does embodies what the Vita Plena Award is all about, which is why we are honored to recognize him here tonight. Darius, congratulations, and thanks for all the ways you support our LT community. I told him he's got to introduce his fan club here.
I'd like to introduce my wife, my best friend right here, especially the one in the back. Another lady right here that's like a mom and a father to me, and another one that's over here that's like a mother to me.
And then you know all the employees.
And all the employees, they'll see.
Yeah.
I think it speaks to Darius's impact based on how many people. Darius, congratulations. All right, on that positive and exciting note, that concludes my superintendent report for tonight.
Nice.
Good one.
It was a very good one. Thank you. All right.
Aw.
Yes.
Apologize, we have to leave and get the kids.
That is okay. This is the time for you to go. We
Yeah.
appreciate you
Great
being
time.
here. So thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations, Darius.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank
Fills a room.
you. Yeah.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, he's beaming, and he does every time he drops some ice. So it's like, Mom was like, you want to come on? 11 o'clock. It's okay. You don't want to all night. Work on him.
Thank you.
More than likely. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
I know.
We'll now move on to our unfinished business items. We will begin this evening with the consideration of approval of the second reading of the fiscal year 26 capital outlay request. Brian Sanchez.
Thank you.
Why do I?
Do you know Brian Sanchez?
I do.
Maybe?
It's when I read it. When I read it, it doesn't look
Okay.
right.
I know, I've answered to that for a long
I
time.
apologize.
That's perfectly fine, don't worry about it.
Two in a row. All right.
Thank you, President Alvarez. And so tonight is, in fact, the second reading of our capital outlay request that we present to the board on an annual basis. This one, this group of requests to be included in the FY26 budget. And so that'll be the budget that'll start on July 1st of this year and run through June 30th of 2026. The only item that is different in your packet is I have an expenditure history there of what the last 5 years have looked like, and I break that down essentially by division or organization within the district, and you can then see how that compares to prior years by each one of those as well. It's certainly not uncommon for technology to have a larger number every one of those years, and you'll have other divisions or offices that will have, a year or two and then of expenditures, and then nothing in some other years. So that is not uncommon. But again, you have that sort of a summary there, and that really brings you to that $2.8 million that we are asking the board for approval for tonight. That being said, I would just mention to the board that based on the approval tonight, we will look to include these items in the upcoming budget. However, as we get through the budgeting process, if any adjustments need to be made, we will bring that information back to the board. As you know, we'll look at that and then, like I said, see how things pan out here. Because even though we're in May, we're still a few months away from wrapping up that tentative budget in August. So a lot of things can change between now and then. Other than that, be happy to answer any questions you have.
I'll ask one. Since this is my first few weeks on the board, is this on par with previous years? Are we looking for quite a bit more, quite a bit less? What, kind of give me some ideas on.
Yeah, that's a great question. So actually, if you look on that history page there, we're at $2.8 million. That's the highest that we've had in the last 5 years, essentially. And so the year that comes closest to that would be the 2020-21 year at $2.4 million. And so we are seeing this year some of the technology expense is a little bit higher than what we've seen in prior years. But all that being said, I think we're in the ballpark of where we've been in prior years anyway.
I didn't scroll down far enough to see the totals.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
And Brian, there's like other categories on here that never seem to have anything.
Yeah.
Are these categories that we defined, or that would be, like, do we have to break it out this way, or would we ever remove some or even add? Or
No,
just-
I leave them all in there because they are the either divisions or offices that would most likely order something, even if they don't for the last 5 years, something still could happen. Something could still come up, right?
Sure.
And, you know, take for instance, if you look at, I don't know, about the 7th or 8th one down, copiers. Those are in there. They're not even a division or an office in the district.
Right.
We just had numbers in there because we recently turned over our copier fleet in the district. So we do that about every 5 to 6 years with our copiers. And so that's why you don't see anything there in the copiers for, you know, the first 3 years, and then here comes the 2 years in a row where we do have that. And of course, nothing on that line item for this year because it'll be about 5 years before we would bring something back on those. So we leave these in here just for the purpose of having them. And again, it certainly could come about that one of those groups would request something, but the fact that they have usually the zeros there means that they generally don't need some of the capital outlay requests.
Okay. And do any of the requests like sort of share departments at all? Like, is there any crossover for some of the items that we use? Like, I'm thinking, I thought that there was on here at one point something about that was geared towards LTTV.
Yeah, LTTV is one of the.
And I just thought, wasn't it a camera or something that was on here? Or no, it was the playback. That was probably more, is that going in the sports category? Is that where that in athletics?
It is. That's
Even though we had intent, like we
Correct.
suggested that it would probably and potentially be used for LTTV's purposes.
Correct.
Okay.
Most of these requests are unique to
Uh-huh.
that division or group or office.
Okay.
But certainly they can be utilized throughout the district. It
That's what I
is
was thinking.
district property. It doesn't belong directly to that division.
Right.
And so certainly they can be if needed.
Yeah, I would think that there probably could have some potential overlap or extended uses beyond what it's initially proposed for in other areas. Thanks for the breakout.
Sure. And again, the ones in light blue on that document are going to be covered by grants
Right.
for next year.
Which we really appreciate that, every year looking into the grant dollars to help fund that.
Yeah, we always try to put as much of those in the grants as we can, but again, the limited scope of the grants only allows us to put so much, fund so much
Right.
with those dollars.
Right. And it usually looks like a pretty good balance. You know, I know obviously when you look at it by the category, sometimes it feels like it doesn't seem like it's as spread out as evenly, but when you look at it overall for 5 years, it looks like we're trying to do a nice balance of giving, you know, those priority one requests where they need to be filled in the certain areas that desperately need them, so I do appreciate that. They're really good asks, and I think they're important items to have, so I appreciate that.
Great.
And I know you'll make adjustments if we have to for the budget.
Yeah, hopefully we won't have to, but,
Okay,
you know,
yeah.
we'll continue to monitor that. And again, remember, all of these requests they originate from these divisions, these offices. And so those then filter up through The division offices, they talk with their staff members to determine what they need for the following year. Then they come up to me. We administratively review them, and then we bring them to the board. So.
And then just one more question though, since in talking about that and how we haven't ever had to come back and make any adjustments or change anything. So what would that process even look like? Does that involve us? And at what level would you make a request, or how would you go about deciding?
So, as you may recall from our conversation 2 weeks ago, we were talking about what some of that budgeting looks like for our medical insurance, right? And so that could be an item where, based on what we see for the remainder of this year, that we might have to put some more dollars toward that, right? And so if we have to do that and we end up with an unbalanced budget, that's when we would come back and start looking at some of these to reduce that to a balanced budget or as close to a balanced budget as possible. There are other opportunities within the budget as well, not just the capital outlay, but the supplies, the purchase services, but generally there isn't as much room with those. These could potentially offer more of an opportunity. I'm hoping we don't have to do it at all, but I need to keep an eye on that based on how we think we're going to run with that with the medical insurance. Yep, sure.
And I guess the only other thing I would note is that while these projects are smaller in scale, right, we're not looking at bond funds, we're not building a cafeteria. These are important items to keep our building refreshed with new technology, safety features, right?
Right.
Like these are not, I wouldn't necessarily say required items, but they really are to continue the refresh process so that we're not having to worry about spending larger dollars down the road. Is that a fair way to describe it?
Yes, in some cases, that's correct. And as you point out, some of these actually are kind of required.
Yeah.
When we're looking at the basketball shot clocks, for example, that's a new IHSA regulation that we have to comply with next year. And so that's something that we have to do.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of all of everything that you mentioned there.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? Okay. That being said then, again, thank you for your diligence with this, and we hope that we don't have to come back to it and everything gets approved and worked out. But in the meantime, can I have a motion to approve the second reading of the FY26 capital outlay requests as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Marilyn, will you please call roll?
Member Dillon.
Yes.
Member Giannotti Fry.
Yes.
Member Kennedy.
Yes.
Member Lopez.
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels.
Yes.
Member Kazelka Campbell.
Yes.
Member Alvarez.
Yes. Motion passes. Next is the consideration of approval for the second reading of the 25-26 student fees. Brian Stashak.
Thank you, President Alvarez. And again, this is a second reading here. Nothing has changed on these recommended fees. It is important to note that generally speaking, there are three fees that all of our students will pay, and that's the student support fee at $25, the textbook rental fee at $75, and a technology fee at $150. There's no change to any of those fees. They've been consistent for the last, since we implemented the technology fee, I think 5 years ago at this point. And so there are no changes to those. The other fees that you see on this spreadsheet here, as I've mentioned a couple of weeks ago, are by actual course, so there are repeaters on there, right? So it's by course, some running first semester, some running second semester. And in many of the cases here, these aren't truly fees. Essentially what they are is the students are purchasing something that is, a consumable novel for a course, something along those lines. And in theory, we're selling them for this dollar amount. Parents could go out and buy those at other locations, provided that they have the right edition of the book, those types of things. And so many of these are, in fact, those types of, I guess, really more of a cost structure to what we're selling them anyway. And so that being said, I would be happy to answer any questions on any of these here that you see. Just one other point here. You have in column D, you have the 25-26 fee. In column F, you have the 24-25 fee. And then in column G, you have the difference. Many of those are zeros because there are no differences from last year to this year. In some cases, there might be a small difference because there was an increase in cost in a novel, a book, something along those lines. And in other cases where you see a bigger number, probably a fee did not exist last year for that. And a new course, change in the course has required a different book that then costs something that we didn't have in the prior year. So that's why you see those variations in there. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have on any of these.
We had a really good discussion about it last week, and we talked through. Appreciate that the fees are where they are and that we really haven't made any changes over the years.
All right, then I think we are good. Can I have a motion to approve the second reading of the 2025-2026 student fees as presented?
So moved.
Marilyn, will you please call roll?
Member Giannotti Fry,
Yes.
Member Kennedy,
Yes.
Member Lopez,
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels,
Yes.
Member Kozolka Campbell,
Yes.
Member Dillon,
Yes.
Member Alvarez.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Brian, for that as well. Next is the consideration of approval for the second reading of the 2025-2026 amended school calendar. Brian Waterman.
Yeah, Scott was not able to make it tonight, so I can take this one. This is another second reading. The board discussed this 2 weeks ago, but we're required to make an amendment to our calendar for next year just to modify the number of staff days we have in the calendar. So the change would be that President's Day weekend in February, we'd make that a 4-day weekend instead of a 3-day weekend. We actually had that same calendar 2 years ago when we didn't have an election day, so we're proposing the same thing for next year. So
Prepare everyone for Valentine's Days.
exactly,
That is-
exactly. So happy to answer any questions.
Self-explanatory.
I think, again, we had that
Straightforward.
discussion last time,
Yeah.
right? So I think we're okay on that one. All right, can I have a motion to approve the second reading of the 2025-2026 amended school calendar as presented?
Second.
Marilyn, will you please call roll?
Member Kennedy,
Yes.
Member Lopez.
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels.
Yes.
Member Kozolka Campbell,
Yes.
Member Dillon,
Yes.
Member Giannotti Fry,
Yes.
Member Alvarez.
Yes, motion passes. Next is the consideration of approval of the emergency authorization for the repair of the South Campus gym. Brian Stashak.
Thank you, President Alvarez. And again, we also talked about this during the committee of the whole meeting 2 weeks ago. This is a situation that we've had where we've had the glazed block in gyms 1, 2, 3, and 4, decorative glazed block that has been deteriorating a bit over time. And we are asking the board, we'd like to obviously have this taken care of this summer so that we can open those gymnasiums as we normally would during the school year in August. And so we have the ability to do that here. We have essentially a quote from Hap Builders, who happens to be on site doing the construction at South Campus and will be for the remainder of the summer. And they have provided us a quote, $443,700 to finish that, complete that, start and complete that project during this coming summer. And again, what we're looking at here is the timing and the wanting to get that done this summer so we can utilize those gymnasiums again with the start of the school year. And so we'd be asking the board to utilize and approve an emergency provision to approve this contract, and then we would have the work done this summer.
I do have one question, just because when we were walking out of here last time, like, I saw it like in the bathroom. Is that the same glazed block? Like, if you walk down this hallway, there's like the bathrooms there. Is that the same type of glazed block?
It might
I
be,
think this glazed block has been painted.
it has been,
Okay.
So it might be the
Yeah.
same block, but the one at South Campus had not been touched.
right.
It's like, should we be worried? I guess like, it just made me think, like, should we be worried that it's other places in the buildings that we need to be planning ahead for, or is it just
I
because?
can answer for
Yeah.
the question for John.
John, any thought on that at all? I mean, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Not unless they're bouncing basketball.
This is
I
John
don't know what's
Brown.
going on.
Yeah.
They might be, I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm just kidding.
John Borowski with DLA Architects. I can totally geek out about this for a while. So the glazed block that you have here is 4 inches or 8 inches wide. The one that's at the South Campus is 2 to 2.5 inches wide. So it's a very thin veneer. It was put on in the late 50s. The anchoring system's horrible, the grout's probably deteriorating, so that's why it's kind of flaking off. No concerns here at all. No moisture issues that we know of. Once the demolition commences, we'll reanalyze the wall. But there's a lot of, it's a long story, but it's about maybe 7 feet high. So the top third is the weakest part of that wall, and that's what's kind of flaking off. So how we're gonna fix that is we're gonna re-anchor new block, and then we're also gonna remove the cavity behind the block. So now you get full adhesion on the block to the existing bearing wall. So structurally, completely fine. The veneer is just old and anchored improperly.
All right, so like, and there's no other places like that would match this?
No, so
That's my only.
yeah, your glazed block here is 4 inches wide.
Okay.
No issues with that at all.
But there's no other like similar to the gym on any of the
No,
campuses?
nope.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was, I just thought about that as I left, and I was like, never really noticed glazed blocks, but,
Good question.
you know, when you mentioned and you
Old
see it all over.
1955
Yeah, you
Yeah.
design.
Okay, I just was like, is this gonna be
Yes.
like something we need to plan more for other, you know, glazed
No other
block
concerns.
incidences?
No.
Okay, perfect. That's great news then.
And what's above it is cinder block, right?
So the wall is 12 inches wide, cinder block going all the way up to the roof, and that's your bearing wall. So that's your structure.
Okay.
So that takes all the wind load, live load, dead load, snow load. The veneer stops at 7 feet, and that's what's going to come down and get rebuilt.
With the cinder block, right?
Correct.
Is that what we decided?
Yep.
So it'll try to match maybe as much as we can.
Yeah, so if you've ever been in the gym and you see existing cinder block, that used to be glass windows back in the 50s. So when they took those windows out, they infilled the windows with block. So it's gonna look like it's always been there once we put it back.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
You said you're gonna also remove the block behind it. Won't
No.
the,
The block stays.
okay,
The bearing,
The anchor.
yeah, the 12-inch block is gonna stay.
okay.
Yep, the veneer in front of the block will get removed and re-anchored to the existing bearing wall behind it.
Alright.
Yep. So no shoring, non-structural.
Okay, that
Yep.
was my
Yep,
going point,
yep,
so.
so, yeah.
Mr. Stage,
And we should probably also
through all of
mention.
this, do we have a general contractor that's gonna follow through with the process?
Yes, that's Hap Builders,
Okay.
the ones who are on site right now.
And they'll give you the timeframes of what's going on?
Correct. We have actually already had conversations about that, and I think, John, they're gonna get started here, pending approval from the board, they get started pretty quickly here.
Correct, yes. One of the advantages is that the masons are still on site, so they're gonna reuse the masons that are wrapping up portions of the cafeteria addition and just move them right into the gymnasium. So,
Thank you.
yep.
And Brian, the reason why this is emergency, and correct me if I'm wrong, is because of the time frame of getting everything done by next school year. We didn't have time to go out for bid.
That's really what we're looking at here.
Okay.
The timing of this and.
Had somebody on site already that can do it.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm sure too, there might be like some safety concerns too, if that block were to crack more lower, where our students might run into the wall, you know, and playing sports and things like that too, so. It
I mean, that's
really
kind of what we
needs to
thought.
be
We don't want it to
fixed.
become a safety issue. so
Right,
that-
yeah, I could see that,
helps
that
with
could be an issue
getting
too.
Right.
emergency authorization.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions, concerns? I know we did have a long discussion about this last time, specifically about the authorization and some of the work that we were looking to do. I know we talked a little bit also about this isn't something that could have been the result of the ongoing construction. This is something completely separate. So I think that was all good and well. I appreciate the quickness that it's brought to us. I think if there aren't any more questions or concerns, we will look for a motion to approve the emergency authorization for the repair of South Campus Gym to Hap Builders as presented.
So moved?
Second.
Marilyn, will you please call roll?
Member Lopez?
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels?
Yes.
Member Kazalka Campbell?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes.
Member Giannotti Fry?
Yes.
Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member Alvarez?
Yes, motion passes. Thank you all for your work on this. Next is the consideration of approval of the food services contract to Quest. I know we've had a lot of discussions about this last time also. Brian Stashak, if you could kind of walk us through this again.
I can. Thank you, President Alvarez.
Thank you.
And you are correct. We've had a lot, there's been we had a lot of conversation last time. There's been some subsequent information shared with the board since that meeting 2 weeks ago. And there's a couple of points here that I think are important to make. And that is, first of all, what's important is that we followed a process here. And when I say a process, what I mean is the request for proposal. When you look at that, I think it's about a 45-page document that outlines essentially what the district said to the vendors we were looking for in returns for their proposal. And so, again, I think that's an important piece here, because I'm not so sure that, well, I'll just leave it at that. It's a really important piece, because what ends up happening with this request for proposal as well, this document becomes the overriding document that essentially becomes the contract for this vendor and for this service for the time period that it exists. And while there is, when we had asked for, when we put in this RFP, we had asked for a sample contract, right? That particular contract generally contains some boilerplate language that then refers back to this document as the overriding document in this particular process, okay? And so that is extremely important. Throughout this process, additionally, there was, within this RFP, there was a scoring rubric for how vendors would be scored based on their proposals. There were different categories, which I know that we shared that with everybody. And so I think it's important to note that it wasn't just something that I sat in my office and made up one day and came up with and said, here's our recommendation based on whatever. And so there was, again, a lot of important information here. In addition to that, the RFP was reviewed by district council before it was put out on the street. And also, as was always expected, the contract that was provided back to us, in this case from Quest, was also reviewed by our district council, and changes were made to that document that then, of course, reflect the RFP becomes the contract. The changes to the contract were really in favor of the district, and there was no attempt to change anything. I know there was some thought about last minute. That was not the concern or the issue. We wanted to bring it to the board as we could last week for a first review, and then for tonight, as we talked about the timing of that situation in terms of, getting, if we were going to have a new food service management company, we certainly wanted to have them and give them enough time to go ahead and get prepared for the upcoming school year. And so I think those are some really important pieces to note. And again, at this point, our recommendation is for Quest to become the food service here at Lyons Township High School. Be happy to answer any additional questions that any of the board members may have. We also have two representatives from Quest Food Service here who can also answer any additional questions at this time.
Do you have a question? And probably from one of the representatives. Can you go into detail the per capita spending? How LT is so far off from everybody else, and is that a good thing? Or just looking at these numbers, it is pretty staggering how different they are.
Hi again.
Hi.
How are y'all doing?
Okay.
So, per capita is a way that, and the district actually asked for some comparisons at the end of the RFP. It's a way that we measure average sales per student enrolled per day. Okay? So the reason we like to use that number, and the reason the district use it, and we see a lot of other districts like yours use it that are not on the National School Lunch Program, is it kind of combines two figures. You could have a really high, a term that you might use in a restaurant space is average check. How much is on average is each student spending? We could have a really high average check at a district, but if only a few students are able to afford it, that doesn't really get captured in that average check. You could also have a really high participation number, meaning a lot of students are buying something in the program, but if they don't like the food, maybe they're just buying a bottle of water, for example, and so that would drag the average check down. So the per capita looks at, it really has to balance, are we getting a lot of students to eat, and are they willing to buy something more than just like a bottle of water for that number to grow, for that number to move up. So we like to see, from our vantage point, typically the higher the per capita, the more participation and the more students are willing to participate and spend in the program. They like what's going on in the program. Your per capita is quite low, and that, from my perspective, is not a good thing. And I'll draw one of the questions that I had worked through with Brian. There's been so much conversation around pricing and whether or not we're going to come in and just raise prices. I would remind the board, number one, that we don't have the contractual ability to do that. The pricing control rests with the district, number one. Number two, right now, based on the RFP data that was provided by the district, this is not Quest information, this is data that was provided by the district, only a third of the students who qualify for free lunch are eating free meals right now. Only a third. 1 out of 3 students who qualify for free meals are eating those meals right now. One last point I would make. If you assumed an average check of around $3.50 or $4 per meal, you only have about 35 to 40% of the students who are participating in the program right now at Lyons Township High School across the district. Your students who are not eligible for free or reduced lunch. If we assume on average that they spend around $3.50 or $4 per time they go through the line, you only have about 35 to 40% of the kids who are eating. So the per capita is low because the participation is low in this case. Sometimes the per capita can be very low if pricing is really, 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 really low. Your pricing here, we've talked about this over and over and over again. We do not see a need to make hikes with it. It's fine, it's competitive, it's below like what students would spend if they went to Chipotle or Five Guys or Starbucks or any place like that. It's below that, it should be that. It also should reflect a high quality offering to the students. So when we look at your per capita and why we think we can make such an aggressive offer to the district here and guarantee it, is because we see so much upside opportunity for participation. At other districts that we serve, like a New Trier or a Glenbrook, we have north of 85% of the students that are buying something every day. And I would remind you here that you guys are around 35 to 40%, and only a third of the free eligible students that are taking lunch every day. So from our perspective, sorry for the long answer, you asked me what time it was and I told you how to build a watch. Per capita number isn't great. It's very low. I haven't seen a number that low for an off National School Lunch Program high school in a long time. And we see that there is tremendous opportunity to grow that number, which means the kids should be a lot happier with the program. And you've got awesome facilities to make that happen, especially going into next school year.
So if I'm following, you're attributing that to maybe I want to say this wrongly, but a better solution product that kids are going to be more willing to spend more to bring that number up?
Yeah.
On this list of those schools that you put out there, how many of them do you work with right now?
All of them.
All of them. So these are your numbers that you're
Yes,
pulling?
it's our data. Yep.
Thank you.
I want to be clear on one thing too, just so everybody understands. We're not saying that over the next 5 years, provided this contract is approved, that pricing won't change on the items that are sold to students. The district retains the ability to maneuver those. That is not a function of Quest. They will come to us, as our current food service, Sodexo, has done in the past. They will come to us and they will say, this is the example I've been using. Look, you're selling a carton of milk for $1, right? And that has been good. However, just so you know, next year we're going to have to charge you $1.25 for every carton of milk because the cost of dairy's gone up. We have the ability to then say, okay, They would make a price recommendation to us, say, you should probably charge $1.25, so you're breaking even on that carton of milk, right? We can take that, and we don't have to. So the district, in theory, could say, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to leave it at $1, and on every carton of milk we're going to sell, we're going to lose 25 cents. I don't recommend that. So what I am saying, though, is I want everybody to understand, it's what was provided to us from Quest in the proposal is not based on we're going to raise everything by 25% next year. So that's not what's here. However, I will also tell you that it is possible over the next 5 years, as everything does, as prices escalate, we may have to look at increasing some of the pricing on the individual items that are sold. We do that very carefully, very strategically, we've done this with our current food service. And we look at, and we're always cognizant of the fact that our goal here, this isn't a moneymaker. This is about making sure that, of course, we're covering our costs and students are able to eat. That's what this is about. So.
And so we have options to change the menu too, or swap different food items too.
Oh,
based
for
Yeah,
sure.
sure.
on the costs and things
For
like
sure.
that. Okay.
Sure.
And we have districts, for example, I was just in a meeting last week with a district that was requesting that we bring forth more halal options for students. So there are,
Yeah.
all kinds of opportunities like that, for sure.
And again, Nick and his team they want to increase the participation, so they're going to want to look at
100%.
what do students want to buy, and if this doesn't work here because at Lyons Township High School District 204, students aren't buying this particular item. What can we exchange that out for something that they do want to buy?
So all that information is collected, the data is analyzed, and is part of this 5-year contract. Like, where are the checks and balances? What do those points look like? How often are you communicating with each other on that?
I'll let you talk a little bit about, in your proposal, you talk about the student engagement groups, the staff engagement. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So there's a few checkpoints. So we have quantitative checkpoints every day where we're looking at what's being purchased and what's not being purchased. And if we want to make, I'm just making this up, if we find that students are responding a lot better to, ground turkey on the Mexican bar instead of the ground beef, that's probably not an issue that we're going to come talk to Brian about or have to talk about with pricing. But that data is very important for us to know what's moving and what's not, and what's working and what's not. The more formal checkpoints, though, I'd call our attention to 3 things. The quantitative ones, one, we have a platform that we use called My Customer Voice, and allows students to use a cell phone to scan a QR code. That will be up on the sneeze guards in the servery, in the kitchens, every day. And after a while, those blend into the scenery, and students don't really acknowledge those. So once a semester, we do what we call Feedback Friday, where we offer an incentive for students to scan it. It's 5 or 6 quick questions. It's very easy to do. That's some quantitative stuff that we do. We also do that as an aside with our employees as well. We have something called My Team Insights that they do the same thing about how they like to work at Quest. Then on the qualitative side, we will have food committees at both campuses at least once a semester. If the building administration will allow us to do those food committees more than once a semester, we love to do it. Ideally, we get a cross-section of students from different grades, different socioeconomic backgrounds, students who eat with us, students who don't, different dietary preferences, et cetera. And if we can keep sort of the core of that group intact year over year, understanding that students are moving through the system, right? Moving through the school, that gives us a great opportunity to say what's working, what's not, what's causing you to eat, what's causing you to not eat. We always learn odd things about why a line might be slow, or we don't know what pricing is on this particular thing, it's not clear enough. We will also sample new menu items for students so that they can see new options that we want to consider. And then we will have formal business reviews with Brian and whomever else he deems fit at least once a semester, where we sit down and walk through, and I think we have some sample images of that in our proposal. Everything in the program from soup to nuts. What's working with sales, what's going on with our team, facilities concerns that we have, the whole thing. And we're also like 25 minutes down the street, and if we got a problem and we need to just get here and talk through something, we're always willing to do that.
I would also point out that in section 12 of the RFP, letter A notes that the food service management company shall provide time for regular meetings with appointed district personnel and students to determine ways to improve the program. Yep.
Thank you.
I had I wanted to thank you, Brian, and thank you, Nick, for helping us better understand your services and answering all those questions, because they clarified quite a bit of information. I really appreciate the student voice component, my customer voice platform, because getting that student input, especially on a daily basis, which I didn't realize what was happening, is really important. I also noticed in your response packet that you referenced some research that you've done and you've leveraged, and one of the factors that I think rose to the top for me as to why students were potentially not purchasing meals or not purchasing lunches was due to lack of time. And I'm wondering if that is based on our knowledge for our students, is that one of the driving factors as to why possibly only a third of our students that qualify for free meals and 35 to 40% of our students are purchasing lunches? Do we know is it kind of a similar insight? Is it due to the lack of time, or do we know anything else related to that knowledge?
Our lunch periods are, what 30 minutes?
20?
25 minutes long.
I get reminded that every day.
Yeah. They are certainly perhaps a bit shorter than what you might see at some of the other schools, some of the other districts. I think we have focused with the current food service provider to maximize the time that we can get students in and out. I think we're going to be able to do that really well at South Campus coming up. I know that South Campus was one of the areas that was a real problem. When you look at the way, the structure of the old cafeteria that no longer exists, by the way, and you look at what we're going to have here in the new cafeteria, I think we're really going to be able to move students in and out of there really pretty quickly. Yeah, hopefully, right? We'll once we get up and running, we'll look at it and we'll see if we need to make some changes. There's also different options too at this point. When we look at some of the grab and go options that we've talked about.
That I'm really looking forward to seeing. How
Yeah,
that comes
the different multiple different serving areas, that type of thing. So we're doing everything, or we're going to do a lot of different things that we can to try to speed up that process to get the students what they want, get them through the line, and get them out eating as quickly as we can.
That's great.
And we will have to staff up,
Yeah.
as student purchasing activity, transactions, volume grows, we have to staff up. So that will be something that will be our responsibility.
Okay.
It's not the district's responsibility to deal with. But without fail, when we come into a new district, if not immediately, very soon into the first year, we have to add staff, and it just continues. We're in our 10th year at New Trier, and we added 3 new, I know at the Winnetka campus, we added 3 new staff members this year.
Because needs change, functionality changes,
Yep.
preferences changes.
Schedules change, offerings change. Yep.
That's right. I also appreciated you calling out that 40% of your proposed menu would be plant-based. Are you foreseeing that maybe? Are you seeing that 40% across the board in all the schools, or are you?
That's a
okay.
great question. So, one, that number's growing. So back in oh my gosh, I'm guessing it was around 2020, 2021, we had set a goal that by 2024 that a third of our menu options would be plant-based. And so we've exceeded that. It continues to grow. To be completely candid, and this is a little not super PC to say, but the more affluent schools tend to have students more affluent schools and more diverse schools with certain populations tend to have students who are more interested in the plant-based options. So I would anticipate that the plant-based demand here would be relatively high.
It's also the pitch, right? How do you sell the plant-based? So I'm looking forward to seeing how that comes to fruition.
We found some really great quality products that are affordable. That's, I mean, some of this stuff is really great. Some of it is not from a cost standpoint. We found some products that are very affordable. We've been showcasing a lot of them in tastings that are plant-based that kids, like, they don't know. And it's
Yeah.
kind of cool. Well,
Yeah.
just try it. And they're, so we're
Great.
looking forward to
That's
that.
good to see.
Yeah.
I know, at least for me, the things that you've checked off for me has been the nutrition, the choice, cost to student, which I know that's on us. You know, the vetting that the administrative team has done has been very helpful for me. Reading the RFP, having that information, having those proposals. I know we were just starting to scratch the surface last time we had met, but the additional information for me has been extraordinarily helpful in us vetting this. More importantly, I know that Rhea and Rohan will definitely tell us next year if it's not going well.
Please
So
do.
you're gonna have to make sure that, I mean,
Please
that's
do.
really
Gotta
the
keep us
most
honest.
important piece of this entire puzzle, is making sure that our students enjoy it and are getting good nutritional value. So
As well as the staff.
as well as the staff. That's true. That's true.
We are also looking to increase participation with staff as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's all part of it. Sure.
And you do get the staff voice as part of your, okay.
Your staff voice, but do you also
No,
get
our
our
staff.
staff also?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna have teachers that are gonna plunk down at the cool, with the kids in the cafeteria, and they'll be like, "Get away! I saw you in class. I ate my lunch
They
with
have their
you."
own cafeteria.
Yeah.
What's that?
They have their own
They have their own.
cafeteria.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. You're right. I forgot. They do.
Nice.
Brand
They
new
don't want to
space in
just.
South
They don't
Campus,
want
they
to
have
just
their
kind
own.
of jump in and hang out, continue the conversation. And I think like that accessibility component and having more choices and options throughout the day, I think the more that we can keep our students here on campus and not having to go over to the garden market, sorry, garden
Yeah.
market, but, I don't know that they've been exceptionally friendly with our students sometimes, so I think it would be really helpful for our students to have friendly faces here that will, serve them and provide to them, so they can get to their activities and continue to stay active in their clubs and connect with their teachers and stay on campus more. That's really helpful.
We're very excited about that, the potential with like the convergence of food service, the new cafeteria at South Campus, and the ability to do just that, right? Provide options for our kids and ability for them to connect with their classmates, have a space for us to supervise. So there's a lot of really, really big positives. And our students are super excited for the ongoing and regular opportunities to try food. So they were really impressed by that when they had an opportunity to talk to some of the staff from Quest. They were the only group that talked about regular, ongoing opportunities for students to be able to provide voice and feedback, and that really excited them.
And I do like the after-school options that we've been talking about as well, and piloting the app. There's going to be an app that we're piloting too, is that right? Anything we can do to increase participation, make it easier for our students, I think is good. Other questions, concerns, comments?
I'll just comment that I know it was a lot of work going into it, so
Yeah.
thank you for vetting this for us.
Yeah.
And, and
Yeah.
it's really, looks great. Makes
Timely.
me kind of want to come across the street for lunch.
I was just gonna say.
It's like I was moving into like Plymouth
It's a
Place. We can just
combination.
come on over here, get a burger at
You
the
can't-
pub.
you can't move it.
Yeah, if I can't, but I'm thinking it could be great.
Sit on that beautiful outside.
That's
right.
Seating
That's right.
area.
Be hanging
the
out
weather's
over here.
nice.
Yeah, right.
So I'm really excited. I think it'll be great.
Okay. That being said then, can we have a motion to approve the food services contract to Quest as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Marilyn, will you please call roll?
Member Vita Daniels?
Yes.
Member Kupazelka Campbell?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes.
Member Giamatti Fry?
Yes.
Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member Lopez?
Yes.
Member Flores?
Yes, motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. That concludes our unfinished business. We will now move into our new business for this evening. Our first new business item for consideration is approval of the transfer of funds from the Education Fund to Operations and Maintenance Fund. Ryan Stashak.
Thank you, President Alvarez. And so you're probably asking, why do we have two separate resolutions for a transfer of the same dollars? And I will tell you why. It is because we have the ability, the law in the state of Illinois allows us to transfer money between the education fund, the O&M fund, and the transportation fund. That has to be renewed by the General Assembly and the governor. I think it's every 2 to 3 years. And one of the requirements is that if you're going to transfer money amongst any one of those funds, you have to have the public hearing, which we did earlier today. That also was published in the newspaper, not last Thursday, but the Thursday before, notifying the community that we would have this public hearing. And so, again, as part of the law, in order to transfer those funds between the dollars between those two funds, that is why we have to have this first resolution. Then we'll have a second resolution shortly that essentially says, okay, we're going to take that money that we moved out of the ed fund into the O&M fund, and we're going to move it from the O&M fund to the capital projects fund. That transfer does not require a public hearing. We have the ability to do that whenever the district would like to do that. But because we're moving from ed to O&M and then O&M to the capital projects fund, the first piece requires the public hearing. In addition, let me just remind everybody that this was a planned transfer. When we took on the projects that are going to begin here in the summer of 2025, so in just a couple of weeks, we had the funding source for those was our fund balance, and so we're moving that money out of those funds so that we can cover the cost. And just so everybody knows, when we have larger projects like this, we typically run those out of the capital projects fund. And so that's what we're doing with these. There's nothing new here. This isn't of any concern. This was planned all along. And so $13.6 million is being moved out of the ed fund to the O&M fund, and then the O&M fund to the capital projects fund. And for those board members who were here at the beginning of the school year back in September, and for those who weren't, we also had an additional transfer of $5 million from the O&M fund. And so that $18.6 million total transfer is in our current budget. It's in our tentative amended budget, and it will be in the final amended budget as well. And so all of those expenses for those projects will go to the 60 fund. These dollars go to cover the cost of those projects.
All right. Any questions, concerns, comments? All right. Very good. Can I have a motion to approve the transfer of funds from the education fund to operations and maintenance fund as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Marilyn, will you please call roll?
Member Zelka Campbell,
Yes.
Member Dillon,
Yes.
Member Giannotti Frye,
Yes.
Member Kennedy,
Yes.
Member Lopez,
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels,
Yes.
Member Alvarez.
Yes, motion passes. Our final new business agenda item is consideration of approval of the transfer of funds from the operations and maintenance fund to the capital project fund. Brian Stashak.
Thank you, President Alborz. Nothing more to say here. I just covered it before we took that resolution. This is the final resolution that then moves from the O&M fund to the capital projects fund.
Very good. Questions, concerns? All right. Can we have a motion to approve the transfer of funds from the operations and maintenance fund to the capital project funds as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Marilyn, will you please call roll?
Member Dillon,
Yes.
Member Giannotti Frye,
Yes.
Member Kennedy,
Yes.
Member Lopez,
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels,
Yes.
Member Zelka Campbell,
Yes.
Member Alvarez.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Okay. We have now reached the consent agenda portion of our meeting. Our consent agenda includes the following items: payment of bills and financial statements for LTHS and LADSI for the month of April 2025, human resources items for LTHS and LADSI, 2025 list of graduates, unofficial, review and approval of meeting minutes, open and closed sessions, overnight travel, student travel. Can we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Second?
Marilyn, will you please call roll?
Member Giannotti Frye,
Yes.
Member Kennedy,
Yes.
Member Lopez,
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels,
Yes.
Member Zelka Campbell,
Yes.
Member Dillon,
Yes.
Member Alvarez.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you, everyone. Our final agenda item is the second opportunity for audience members to give comments or feedback to the Board of Education. Marilyn, do we have anyone signed up?
We do not.
Okay. At this time, the board will be moving into closed session for collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, 5 ILCS 120/2C2. The board will not be taking action after closed session. Can I have a motion to move into closed session?
So moved.
Second?
Marilyn, will you please call the roll?
Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member Lopez?
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels?
Yes.
Member Kazelka Campbell?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes.
Member Giannotti Fry?
Yes.
Member Alvarez?
Yes, motion passes. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, have a good night.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night.